Welcome to Dining with Dash. I'm your host,
Dash Ellis Dahl.
And I'm your co-host, Sherry Dunlop.
Today's episode is all about role models. And on today's menu, we've got a pan-roasted pork loin with an apple bacon glaze, creamy potato puree, and sauteed Brussels sprouts.
So what's with your outfit?
Welcome back to Dining with Dash, Recipes for Success. I'm your host, Dash, and today's episode is all about role models. On today's menu, we've got an oven-roasted pork loin with an apple bacon glaze, a creamy potato puree, and sauteed Brussels sprouts. Now, the menu for today was inspired by the movie Mrs. Doubtfire. And in that movie, Robin Williams, he plays a father who would do anything to retain his relationship with his children after a nasty divorce. And divorces are all bad, you always want your parents to stay together. But in that movie, Robin, he has this relationship with his children that is so rare to see, especially with a father. And they love him so much and look up to him. And this menu was created because he tries to one night create a dinner that just goes wrong. Everything goes wrong. His breasts catch on fire. He can't boil water. So he ends up just ordering out. And when he orders the food out, he gets, I believe it was chicken breast, string beans, and mashed potatoes. And it looked so delicious. And it was like the traditional sit-down dinner that everyone thinks of when they think of, a nice sit-down dinner with your family. So today we're trying to recreate that. Now the first thing that I want to do for my pork loin is I want to truss it. Now this process just lets the pork loin keep its shape when you go to cook it, because a lot of time meat has a tendency to go all over the place. So the first thing that you want to do is get some string, get enough length so that you can truss the whole thing and do the other side as well. And you want to put a little bit of it under, and then you want to tie a knot. Now this first knot is just going to hold it together. You tie like that, and then once more. And you want to make sure it's not too tight, not too loose. Like you don't want it to come apart, but you don't also want it to be like suffocating. And then, you put your hand like so. I'm left-handed, so I do things a little bit different, maybe backwards if you're right-handed. And then you go under like that. You just kind of jimmy it a little bit and make sure it's where you need it to be. And you do that again. See, you want it to be in a straight line like this. Maybe it's coming out perfectly because we're in camera, who knows, but it does not always work out like this, trust me. So if it doesn't work out perfect the first time, you could always try it again. And if not, if you're at home cooking for yourself or your family, it doesn't have to be perfect as long as it's done. And then over the back, you just want to take the string, put it under the back string, and then wrap it around like that. And you're basically recreating the same process. So once again, you go under, over and around. Once more, under, over and around. And then, once more. The last one here. The string that got away. Okay, now after you've done that, you can flip it back over. And then you just want to tie a knot. Make sure it stays together. So after you've tied a knot, you know that you don't need the rest of the string. So you can just cut that off like that. Throw that out. And there you have your trussed pork loin. See how it looks on either side. Now this is going to hold your meat together. When we come back, we're going to season our meat and get it going in our cast iron skillet, and then get on to making our mashed potatoes. And then last but not least, we're going to saute our Brussels sprouts, and it's going to be delicious. So please come back.
Chef Harold Dieterle is one of my role models. He won the first season of Top Chef, and that was one of the biggest things for me. Because for a long time, when I wanted to cook, people would tell me, oh, you can't make money as a chef. There's not much that you can do as a chef. But when Bravo came up with the reality cooking show, Top Chef, it was like groundbreaking. And to see him win and be successful, it was just like mind-blowing for me, and it really pushed me. And you know, his restaurant, Perilla, is the restaurant that I externed at when I graduated from culinary school. So I was just like so honored to work with him and to like create his dream, because when you're cooking for another chef, it's really their dream and their heart on that plate. And you know, as a cook in the kitchen, you're just creating that.
Young's Pizza is located at 625 West Santa Gertrudis. Young's Pizza has everything you need to fill your tummy. From pizzas, patooties, salads, and sandwiches, there is something for everyone. Give them a call at 361-592-9179. Thank you to Young's Pizza.
Welcome back to Dining with Dash. I'm Dash. Now before we went to break, we trussed our pork, and so now we're gonna season it and get it into our nice hot cast iron skillet. So because we didn't brine it, we want to season this and make sure it's very well seasoned. So be very liberal with your salt. And get some pepper. You know, I like to use freshly ground cracked black pepper. Sorry, tongue twister. Usually, but you know, not everyone has a pepper grinder at home. So regular pepper is perfectly fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You just flip it over and season the other side. And as you notice, there's seasoning all over here, so I'm just gonna roll like that and just pick all that up, because we're gonna sear this on all 4 sides. Gonna make sure my pot is getting hot. Put that over there. You want it to get to the smoke point because you want to get a good sear on that. Get my pork on a tray and get this over here. Now I love using cast iron because, you know, when you use a cast iron skillet, the entire skillet heats up, not just the bottom part of it. And so you're really getting a universal heat throughout. That's why baking in cast iron is always good. And you usually get a really nice crisp crust on it. Just wait for it to get to that smoke point. Almost there, almost there. You really want it to get to that smoke point so you can get a really good sear on it. And that sear is gonna lock in all the flavor and all the juices. It's gonna make it delicious, because that's what we're doing here, making some delicious food. No, I didn't steal that from Mob Wives. All right, now that we've reached our smoking point, we're gonna get our pork loin in. Are you ready for the sizzle? Gonna wash my hands. I'm working with pork. Do not want cross-contamination. Now this is gonna sear for about 3 minutes on this side, 3 minutes on the other side, and about maybe 1 minute to 2 minutes on the actual sides of the pork loin. You see it's holding together. If I didn't truss it like this, the pork would just go all over the place and it wouldn't really look as pretty and uniform. That's the main thing. You want nice uniform slices. When you slice it, you just want it to look nice. Food doesn't look good, you're not going to want to eat it. Unless you cooked it, because of course you know that you made it good. Alright, just going to leave that there to let that go for a few minutes. Now after it cooks on the oven top for about maybe 10 minutes in total, we're gonna put it into the oven. My oven is preheated to 400 degrees and it's gonna cook in the oven for about 30 to 45 minutes. It depends. If you have a thermometer at home, you can check the temperature and make sure it reaches at least 160 degrees internal temperature. That's looking beautiful. So I'm just gonna flip that over and continue to sear it on this side. You see that nice golden crust there? That's what you're looking for. That looks delicious. Beautiful food. And if you cook like this for your friends, you will have a lot of them and you will not be able to get rid of them because they will be at your house every weekend, every holiday. No one's ever gonna forget your name, I can promise you that. All right, now that it's going on this side, I'm just gonna let it go on this side for about another 2 minutes, get it searing on the other two sides, and then put it into the oven at 400 degrees for about 30 to 45 minutes.
Young's Pizza is located at 625 West Santa Gertrudis. Young's Pizza has everything you need to fill your tummy. From pizzas, patooties, salads, and sandwiches, there is something for everyone. Give them a call at 361-592-9179. Thank you to Young's Pizza.
Welcome back to Dining with Dash. I'm Dash.
And I'm Sherry.
All right, so we're getting our potatoes ready for our creamy potato puree. Now we already have some already diced up into like a small to medium dice in some cold water. You always want to start it off in cold water and then bring the temperature up because it helps the cooking process. Now the smaller you cut them, the quicker they're going to cook, and they'll boil in about maybe 5 to 10 minutes, and then you just want to cook them until they're mushy. We're just getting the last few done here. If you want, you can start putting those in the pot, Sherry. She's a good helper. Make sure not to get her hands cut.
Try not to.
Now use a potato peeler and peel your potatoes. You don't always have to peel them if you don't want to, but for our preparation, we are going to peel them. I'm telling you, if you've never tried mashed potatoes like these, you need to because they are going to be delicious. So we're gonna get these over here on our stove, and just bring those up to a boil. You can cover it if you want. I'm going to season it with some salt. You always want to season your water, and that'll help the seasoning process later. Now that we got that going, we're just going to let this boil. And after it boils, you're just going to let it go for maybe like 10 to 15 minutes until the potatoes are fork or knife tender, whichever one suits you. I like to go in just until I can mush them. You really want them to be mushy and pliable. And then I'm going to drain them. And then we're going to add our cream and butter. So while these are going, I'm going to get a small saucepan on the stove, and get some milk and butter heated up. Tongue twisters today, what can I say? So stay tuned for Dining with Dash. We'll be right back.
Young's Pizza is located at 625 West Santa Gertrudis. Young's Pizza has everything you need to fill your tummy. From pizzas, patooties, salads, and sandwiches, there is something for everyone. Give them a call at 361-592-9179. Thank you to Young's Pizza.
Another one of my role models is my dad. I was adopted by my high school track coach, and I had always emulated him. I'd always looked up to him throughout the years of him being my coach from freshman year. And he was so determined, and he was just, he's just like a great person, and you just have to love him. And even when he would yell at me sometimes, you'd be like, Ellis, come on, you're lagging on in the back, and I would just be like, oh, I hate him right now. But it's like, you just love him, and he's one of my biggest role models. He's just a great person, a great father, a great man, and he's just someone that I aspire to be like someday.
Welcome back to Dining with Dash. I'm Dash. All right, so now we're gonna get started on our apple bacon glaze. We already have some hickory smoked bacon already chopped up. Also, we're going to be adding some brown sugar, some apple juice. Whichever kind of apple juice you want to use is okay. It doesn't really matter. The fresher, the better. Or if you can find one that's 100% juice, not from concentrate. Also, we've got a quarter of an onion and 2 cloves of garlic and some ginger that's going to go into this, and it's going to add a really nice, rich, delicious flavor. Now, one trick for ginger that some people don't know is that the skin is very easy to peel, and you can peel it with just a spoon. All you have to do is take your spoon and rub it along the ginger, and it comes right off. It's very pliable. It's for easy access to your ginger. Got some fast ginger here. Okay, so now that I've got that done, I'm gonna chop off little dark pieces here You know, the pieces that you aren't gonna use, you just chop it off and that's fine. I'm gonna set that aside. Get rid of that skin. Okay, now I'm gonna get started dicing my onion. Now it's a quarter of an onion. And you want like a nice small dice here. Now this is a sweet onion, not the same as the yellow onion. It's just a little bit sweeter. And because we're making a glaze, the sugar is really what we want to come out of it. Okay, so now I'm gonna add my bacon and my onion to my small cast iron skillet after I mince my garlic. Just like last time, you're gonna smash your garlic, back your knife to release the skin. Now we're gonna use a microplane for this garlic, so you don't really wanna mash it too hard because we're not mincing it with a knife. So you don't want to really destroy it to a point where it's not manageable anymore. I'm going to use my paring knife here. Peel the skin off. Okay, so I have a microplane here, and I'm just going to don't microplane your fingers. No one wants to eat you. You want to keep it strictly food. So it's about a teaspoon of garlic. Microplane down. You want to do the same thing with your ginger. It's all going into the same pan, so you don't really have to clean the microplane off after every use. A little more ginger. There we go. A tablespoon of that. Awesome. Now to my smaller cast iron skillet, I'm gonna add my onions and bacon and get those rendering down. You wanna render out that bacon fat because that's what's really going to bring the delicious flavor to this apple bacon glaze. So you wanna hear the sizzle, but then after that, I'm just gonna lower my temperature a little bit so that it renders down and doesn't just like saute the onions and the bacon. And now because we want to caramelize and bring out the sugars, I'm gonna add some salt to my onions and bacon. Now this is just gonna allow the onions to release their natural sugars and soften up a bit. When you add salt to vegetables, that's what happens. They soften up. That's why you wanted to add some salt to the potato water because it's gonna soften them and make it easier to deal with. Now when you're sauteing, you don't wanna add salt because you wanna get like a nice hard sear, you wanna get crisp, you wanna get that dark, deep, rich flavor. So I'm just gonna let this go. It's gonna take maybe about 10 to 15 minutes for it to caramelize totally, and that's what you want. You know, this is the kind of meal that isn't rushed. You know, it's the kind of meal that you make for people that you love and you care about, so you don't mind taking the time out to do everything. But I promise you, in the end, it will definitely pay off. So I'm just gonna let this go here. After my onions turn a deep rich brown and my bacon is very crispy, I'm gonna go ahead and add my garlic and ginger and let that cook for about 2 minutes before adding my applesauce and brown sugar. And once I add, my apple juice and brown sugar. We're not making applesauce. And after I add my apple juice and brown sugar, I'm gonna let it reduce by about half until it's thick and syrupy and coats the back of a spoon. At that point, your roast should be done and you should be able to take it out and coat the top of your roast with the glaze and then place it back in the oven to let it get nice and dark.
Young's Pizza is located at 625 West Santa Gertrudis. Young's Pizza has everything you need to fill your tummy. From pizzas, patooties, salads, and sandwiches, there is something for everyone. Give them a call at 361-592-9179. Thank you to Young's Pizza.
Hey, welcome back to Dining with Dash. So we've taken our potatoes off the stove, they've boiled and they've gotten really soft. And now we're using a trick that I learned Now we have a colander here because most people do not have a ricer or like a food mill or something like that to make mashed potatoes. So we're gonna use our colander and we're just pushing the softened potatoes through. As you can see, it kind of makes a mess, but that's all the fun in it. So Sherry's gonna do this while she's gonna finish this up while we go over here and look at our roast. We've got our pork roast here that's come out of the oven. It's at an internal temperature of 160 degrees. I'm sorry, tongue twister today. And so now we've taken it out of the oven and we're letting it rest. We've topped it with our glaze. Over here, we've got some more milk and butter that's gonna go into the mashed potatoes and make it our creamy potato puree. And right now, we are going to work on our Brussels sprouts because we're gonna saute these up with some onions and garlic and get those into a saute pan, and then we're gonna plate up our dish. So I'm just gonna rinse off my little paring knife here. Use it to cut the string off of the roast. So for this, you just wanna core it, and then you wanna peel the leaves. Now these are Brussels sprouts that I already washed, I rinsed them. So you core them, you want to peel off the greener part of the leaves. Oops, sorry, I got the core in there. There we go. You're just going to peel off the leaves like that and get them into a bowl. See, this is going to add a really nice different texture, especially with Brussels sprouts that you're not really used to. So many people think of Brussels sprouts, they think of cabbage. And yes, it is cabbage, but you just gotta spice it up and make it a little bit different and make it something that you love to do. Now, when you get to the heart like this, you just cut it in half and just put it over here. They're all gonna be cooked the same way, but we're just separating them because once you get down to the nitty gritty and the hearts, it's kind of hard to leaf them. And it's just gonna be a textural difference. And the Brussels sprouts are going to add like a nice crunch and a nice acidity to the meal that is definitely needed. Okay, so now that Sherry has successfully finished getting the potatoes nice and soft, she's going to go get a whisk. A whisk, as I like to call it. Okay, and now she's going to pour some of the milk and butter mixture into the potatoes. Yeah, slowly pour it over. You can just pour it first. I have to do it at the same time. Now that she's poured a little bit in, she's gonna whisk it up and make it nice and creamy. See, it's the kind of thing that you don't have to do all at once. You can just do it as you go, and if you need more, you add more. It is pretty strenuous. That's why she's doing it, and I'm peeling Brussels sprouts. No, I'm kidding. This is actually worse. It's way more time consuming. I'm gonna get these last few. Okay, I'm done peeling Brussels sprouts. So you see, we've got the leaves here, and we've got the hearts here, the cores. Can you see that real quick? Looking pretty good here. Get a little more milk and butter. See that it's very creamy and delicious looking. So we are going to give this a taste and see what we need. We're gonna remember to blow. Tastes good. Needs a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper.
A dash of salt.
Just a dash of salt. Kardashians, don't sue us. It's actually my name. You don't own it. Just gonna mix that. $5 says it's perfect. Maybe a little more salt.
Really?
Who do I owe? Just a little more. That's about good. Maybe a little more milk and butter. So now while that's done, over here, and while our roast continues to rest, you want it to rest for about 15 minutes to really let the juices redevelop back into it. We're gonna get ready to start sauteing our Brussels sprouts. which we're actually going to start with some of the bacon fat that we use to render down from our glaze that we're going to use, and we've got some onions here. We're going to saute the hearts first with the onions, and then we'll do the leaves because the hearts are going to take a lot longer to cook. Got a little bit of the bacon fat. Now this is just going to add flavor and keep that pork bacony flavor going throughout the dish, which is what you want. You can just set those down. I'm going to do the onions a little bit first. Otherwise it'll have like a really raw onion flavor and you want the onions to be cooked out. Okay, so after the bacon fat, is heated up for a little bit, just add your onions to get a nice light sizzle there. You don't want too much, you don't want to scorch them. And because we're sauteing, we're not going to add a lot of salt throughout the process because we do not want things to soften. We want to get a nice hard crust and a sear on things. So we're going to let this go for about a minute. Well, there isn't a real completely sauteed. It's just like, it's just the method of cooking. But for this particular preparation, right about now is where we can add the hearts. You don't have to add all of them, just a few. Because we know that it's going to continue to cook. Like this isn't the end. And see how pretty green they're turning? They look gorgeous. See, and Brussels sprouts are usually made out to be so dull and things that people don't want to eat, and they're really a beautiful, beautiful vegetable. So we're going to add a little more of the bacon fat. We're going to lower our heat a little bit. Went the wrong way. Okay, so now that these have cooked for a little bit, I'm going to move them to the other side. Raise my temperature just a little bit. Just a touch of canola oil. To add some of our leaves. And these are going to wilt down after a minute. Now, because they naturally have a nutty flavor, when you saute them like this, you can also add some pine nuts, some peanuts, some cashews if you want, and some dried fruit, dried cranberries, dried apricots to add to the sweetness. See, at this point, now that they've been sauteing for about a minute or two, they've got the crust that you want. Now you can add your salt and pepper. So, just a pinch of salt, healthy pinch, and some black pepper. Oh, these smell so good. Do you like Brussels sprouts?
I do. I'm pretty big on vegetables. The only thing I don't really like by themselves is carrots.
I love carrots. They're very sweet and, well, they can be, and they can be bad, I guess, sometimes.
So tell me about your role model.
Some of my role models are, different people. They're not always famous. Like, my dad is a role model. Robin Williams, of course, is a role model of mine. He, as a comedian, he's done so much, and there's so many influences that he's had on my life. Like when I was a kid, Aladdin, he played the genie. Mrs. Doubtfire, he played that huge role, that father figure that was always there, which is really cool to see. And then I also have some culinary role models and influences. Harold Dieterle, who actually won the first season of Top Chef, he was that was the reason why I wanted to become a chef and a cook. I'm not a chef, but that was one of the reasons why I wanted to become a cook and make this like a career. So, Harold Dieterle is definitely one of my role models. And after he won the first season of Top Chef, he opened up his own restaurant And that's actually where I did my externship when I graduated from culinary school. So I was pretty honored to work under him. How about you?
I would say my grandparents, my grandma in particular. My mom was a single parent, and it was hard for her. My grandparents actually, they took care of me a lot. They kind of filled the role, like the father figure role. They're very selfless and very amazing people.
It's really cool. You know, role models are people who you can look up to, who you can admire, who are successful in what they do. They don't have to be rich or anything. You know, they can just be regular people, like a grandparent, you know, a parent, a brother or a sister. You know, it doesn't have to be a celebrity. It's gonna clean up a little bit while we prepare to plate our dishes.
Young's Pizza is located at 625 West Santa Gertrudis. Young's Pizza has everything you need to fill your tummy. From pizzas, patooties, salads, and sandwiches, there is something for everyone. Give them a call at 361-592-9179. Thank you to Young's Pizza.
Welcome back to Dining with Dash. Sherry and I have worked very hard in the kitchen today to make our pork roast with our bacon apple glaze, our sauteed Brussels sprouts, and our creamy potato puree. And now it's time to taste the work. So, without further ado, it's a piece. I am gonna cut a few pieces. All right, let's dig in. Get a little bit of everything. Okay. This is so good. You are so jealous. I just want to dance right now. Well, I want to eat. So, thank you for tuning in. Like us on Facebook at HavaBite. Follow us on Twitter at HavaBite13. And tune in next week because we'll feed you.